What's going on, everyone? Hopefully, everyone is keeping safe. And if you had to take a COVID test or a test for flu or anything in the last 24 hours, hopefully it was negative and you are staying healthy. Today, in this video, we are going to start a new series. This is going to be a weekly series similar to what we do with Walgreens, wastewater, COVID variant updates, anything like that we do on the channel. And this one is basically going to be a weekly forecast for COVID, and yeah, it could be for flu or and even influenza like illness. The great people at Hubbub World, which is a website, have made modeling. And I think it's just fantastic that they are able to do this. I messaged them yesterday asking, can I do a video using your data? They said, sure thing. So here we are. We're going to do this series, and this is the first one. This will be weekly. I don't know that it's always going to be on Thursdays. It'll be whichever day we don't have something else planned, a second video aside from our pandemic update planned on that day. So let's start off here. First off, they have the exposure risk. It says our index estimates the number of risky exposures in an hour in indoor or crowded outdoor public environments such as while shopping, traveling, or dining. And take a look here. It goes from 0 through to 20. And this right now is set for COVID. So you can see here, for the majority of the country, not doing too bad on this index at the moment. The forecast is relatively between 0 and 5 in most locations. Maybe a couple areas get between 5 and 10. Then we come down to the next index, local prevalence. Area index estimates the number of contagious persons that live within a 5-minute walk in your area. And this, again, goes from 0 through 20 on COVID-19. And you can see the majority of the country, it's not terrible, but there's some metropolitan city areas which are starting to rise. New York City's getting concerning. Chicago's getting concerning. There's a few concerning places in California, Florida, even Metro Atlanta area. So let's zoom into some of these areas. And first off, we will zoom into New York. Let's take a look at metropolitan New York. Take a look at Long Island. And you can see here New York City itself. Look at that. That's concerning. So 20 people within a 5-minute walk of your area could potentially be contagious for COVID. And let's see how that plays out with influenza-like illness while we're at it too. And look at this. Influenza-like illness, that is, wow, New York City metro area, that is off the charts. In fact, you can see this black and blue, which does not show up on the chart here. That's probably 25 to 30 people within a 5-minute walk. So that's really concerning, and we are not normally seeing that at this time of year. I mean, COVID, we know COVID can be all year round, but these other viruses, they shouldn't be spreading at this time of year. So let's switch it back to COVID, and let's go down a little bit south to New Jersey. And take a look at New Jersey on a COVID index. It's moderate for much of the state, and even high as you get like around Bergen County, Essex County, near New York City. But the western half of the state is not doing too bad, especially west near the Poconos. Then you come down to South Jersey, or what's considered South Jersey, like Camden, Burlington County, and that's relatively, near moderate. What we're going to watch is the shore communities. That's going to start to rise probably on the next update or the update afterwards, because Memorial Day weekend is coming relatively soon. Now let's change this to influenza-like illness, and whoa, yeah, this is really bad. Influenza-like illness is expected to be extremely high in northern New Jersey. So if you live in anywhere that's extremely high, you want to make sure you are continuing to mask to prevent yourself from getting sick and keep you and your family healthy. Let's switch this back to COVID again, and we are going to go back north this time. Let's go up to Massachusetts and take a look at Boston here. Boston is right here, and you can see Boston is pretty much at the high end of the chart. 20 people within a 5-minute walk for COVID, and the metropolitan area around Boston, that's becoming to moderate levels now as well. Western Massachusetts is not doing too bad. Then we come down here to influenza. And I'm not showing you flu or RSV in these states because the only place where flu is bad right now, or, well, moderate, would be New York City. And I think Chicago comes up moderate forecast as well. And look at this. Influenza-like illness from about the Worcester area on eastward is relatively concerning, and Boston itself is off the charts. Just northwest of there, it is between 10 and 15 people within a 5-minute walk, so this is concerning. Let's switch it back to COVID. Let's make our way south this time. Let's go down to Washington, D.C. area. And for COVID-19, it's at the highest level. And then we can switch this to influenza-like illness and take a look at influenza-like illness. That's really high as well. And now we're going to continue south. Let's go south to Georgia now, shall we? Because we saw what looked like looked like Atlanta area. That's what I'm trying to say. Looked like Atlanta was relatively high. And you can see for influenza-like illness, yes, northern Georgia, you definitely have some issues here. There's a spread, and prevalence of this is relatively high. How about COVID-19? Yes, there's forecasting to be increasing COVID levels as well in the metro Atlanta area. Remember, these are forecasts. All the COVID-19, influenza, flu, and RSV, these are forecasts. So it is forecasted to rise in this area. So you're going to want to start to take precautions. Continuing our tour southward, we do want to take a look at Florida. And as you can see here in Florida, Orlando's not terrible at this time. Jacksonville's starting to rise a little bit. Tampa forecasted to rise a bit, as is Miami. Miami corridor, that's probably where the biggest rise is expected at this time. Let's go back north. Illinois. Actually, no, let's go back to Florida real quickly. We forgot to do the influenza-like illness. And let's see what's going on with that. Wow. So Orlando for influenza-like illness is really expected to rise, as is Tampa and Jacksonville, with a moderate rise expected basically along the entire I-95 corridor in Florida. That's relatively concerning. Now let's go to Illinois and take a look at Illinois for influenza-like illness. It is expected to be high in the metro Chicago area. How about COVID-19? COVID-19, Cook County is really expected to rise. And speaking of that, we can actually go to wastewater here. And there was a wastewater site in Cook County that was rising, the big one. There was one that was 1.2 million. Here it is. And as you can see here, take a look at that. It is starting to rise. So this forecast would be correct. And we can also fact check New York City area as well, because if we go to New York hospitalizations, take a look at this. New York State hospitalizations and New York City, this is set for New York City right now, is starting to rise. So the forecast in these metro areas, already we're seeing proof that, yeah, it's correct. There you are going to see rises of COVID-19 in these areas. All right, let's do a couple more states. Texas, here's Texas for COVID-19. You can see Dallas, a small surge is expected. Then you come down here to Southeast Texas, a small surge expected. And even along the I-35 corridor, and this is for COVID, a small surge is expected. How about influenza-like illness? Whoa, take a look at influenza-like illness. Dallas, a surge expected. A higher surge expected as you get more south. And even Houston area, look at this. Whoa, a big surge expected for you. You can see it's at the top of the chart. Let's take this now to California, shall we? And let's look and see what's going on in California as in terms of what to expect. For COVID-19, LA, expect a small increase. Bigger increase expected in the Bay Area, where you can see here it's between 5 and 10 people within a 5-minute walk. How about influenza-like illness? Yes, big increases in influenza-like illness are expected in the Bay Area. As you can see here, many counties are in the purple, which is 20 people within a 5-minute walk. Many counties are 10 through 20. Then you come down here to LA area, similar deal. You're expecting a high number of people could potentially have an influenza-like illness. So that is relatively concerning. Let's go back to the United States map again. And as you can see here, for the influenza-like illness, there are a few other areas that are expecting to see surges in influenza-like illness. There's another one that's relatively stands out, and that would be up in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Let's take a look at that real quickly, shall we? Yeah, look at this. They're expecting an influenza-like surge. And how about COVID-19? The model, very small increase here, so not terribly concerning on that standpoint. And real quickly, let's just take a look at some of these states. As you can see here, California for COVID, at Walgreens, the positivity is rising. Illinois, the positivity is rising. Texas, the positivity is rising. How about New Jersey? We also saw the positivity is rising. So we do have multiple pieces of data which do support this forecast that's coming up from Hubbub World. So we can say the areas that I showed you, I'm expecting that to be true and correct, because we can fact check it with wastewater. We can, in some cases, still do hospitalizations. And even Walgreens, especially in the places where the testing has increased week over week, but the positivity is still rising. So again, this is a Hubbub World. I am going to link this down below in the video. This is fantastic. We're going to do another update on this again next week. And thank you again to the people who run this at Hubbub World for doing this. This is fantastic. We need to see stuff like this. We need more stuff like this to come out to help keep people safe. And I'm assuming, because the world is in their name, I guess they're going to start doing it for other parts of the world. I don't know. Maybe if they do, we'll start taking a look at that as well. Alrighty, if you liked this video, give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more content, such as the pandemic update, where we do the daily news and data, which is coming out later today, hit that subscribe button down below and hit that notification bell so you get notified for it. I will see you all again this afternoon for the pandemic update. Until then, until I see you again next time, stay safe, everyone, and thanks for watching.